You've seen it, haven't you? You trundle down to the supermarket, pick up a pint of milk or a loaf of bread, and your eyebrows shoot up into your hairline. How much? You exclaim, probably to a bewildered shelf stacker who has heard it 1,000 times that day. The price of everything seems to be on a relentless upward march, and in that moment, a thought probably crosses your mind. Well, at least the farmers are finally getting a decent payday. It's a logical assumption. If the end product costs more, surely the person who started the whole process, the one who got their hands dirty, must be raking it in. But I am here to tell you that this is, for the most part, complete and utter codswallop. The notion that a spike in the price you pay at the till directly translates into a fatter wallet for the farmer is one of the greatest misunderstandings in the modern world. It is a comforting lie we tell ourselves to make the sting of a 5-pound block of cheese a little less painful. The reality is a much more complicated, and frankly, a much more depressing picture. For the vast majority of farmers, not just here in Britain but all over the globe, a rise in food prices often feels like a party they weren't invited to. They can hear the music, they can see the flashing lights, but they are stuck outside in the rain, peering through the window, wondering who is drinking all their champagne. When you see headlines screaming about soaring food inflation, it is easy to imagine farmers driving around in brand new Range Rovers, lighting cigars with 50-pound notes. The truth is far more likely to involve a battered 20-year-old Land Rover that refuses to die, a mountain of debt, and a constant nagging anxiety about the price of diesel, the price of fertilizer, and the price of absolutely everything else required to grow the food that everyone takes for granted. The link between the price tag on a supermarket shelf and the money a farmer receives is not a straight line. It is a tangled, knotted mess of string, and the farmer is usually left holding the very, very short end of it. So, let's get this straight from the outset. The next time you find yourself grumbling about the cost of your weekly shop, and you picture a wealthy farmer cackling with glee, I want you to stop. I want you to pause and consider that the person who grew your potatoes or raised your chicken is probably grumbling even louder than you are. They are watching the same prices rise, but instead of seeing their income soar, they are often seeing their profits squeezed until there is barely anything left. This isn't a simple case of supply and demand. It's a story of a system that has become profoundly, and perhaps deliberately, disconnected from the people who are its very foundation. Here's a fact that might boggle your mind. There are, according to the people who count these things, more than 600 million farms on this planet. 600 million. That is an astonishing number of individual businesses, families, and plots of land dedicated to the single, noble purpose of feeding the 8 billion of us. You would think with such a vital role that farmers would be a universally respected and prosperous group. Yet, here is the paradox. The people who produce the world's food are disproportionately among the world's poorest. It makes absolutely no sense, like owning a brewery and dying of thirst. This isn't just a problem in far-flung developing countries, though it is certainly most acute there. Even here, in wealthy, developed nations like Britain, farming can be a brutal, thankless, and financially precarious way to make a living. You have farmers who are, on paper, custodians of land worth millions of pounds, yet they struggle to pay their household bills. They are asset-rich and cash-poor, living under the constant threat that one bad harvest, one disease outbreak, or one disastrously timed political decision could wipe them out completely. It's a high-stakes game where the house, as we shall see, almost always wins. The world runs on the labor of these hundreds of millions of farmers, and yet the system seems engineered to keep them on the brink. They're the engine room of our entire civilization, shoveling the coal into the furnace day in and day out, but they rarely get to enjoy the comforts of the first-class carriages. Instead, they are trapped in a cycle of low income, high debt, and immense uncertainty. This global agricultural workforce is the backbone of our food security, but that backbone is being strained to breaking point, and most people in the cities have absolutely no idea it's even happening. Think about it. In what other essential profession do we accept that the primary producers should be poor? We don't expect doctors or engineers or airline pilots to live on the poverty line. We see their work as skilled and vital, and we remunerate them accordingly. Yet farmers whose skill is just as profound and whose work is arguably more fundamental than any other, are told to accept their lot. They are told that this is just the way things are. This acceptance of farmer poverty is a dangerous and deeply ingrained part of a food system that is failing the very people it depends on most. So, where does all the money go? If the farmer isn't getting it, and you're certainly paying it, who is pocketing the difference? To understand this, you need to understand the journey your food takes from the moment it leaves the farm gate. This journey is what the clever people in suits call the supply chain, and it's less of a chain and more of a ravenous beast with many, many mouths to feed. Each mouth takes a bite out of the final price, and by the time it gets to the end, there is often precious little left of what you paid that can be traced back to the original farmer. It is a masterclass in organized wealth extraction. First, the food leaves the farm. It is collected by a haulier who needs paying for their lorry, their diesel, and their time. That's the first bite. Then, it might go to a processor. This is where wheat is milled into flour, potatoes are turned into crisps, or milk is pasteurized and bottled. The processor has a factory to run, staff to pay, and shareholders who demand a profit. That's a much bigger bite. After that, it might go to a wholesaler or a distributor, who buys in bulk and sells it on. They have enormous warehouses, fleets of vehicles, and more staff. Another bite, and it's a chunky one. Then comes the packaging company, which designs and produces the shiny bags, boxes, and plastic trays that make the food look appealing on the shelf. They need paying, of course. Let's not forget the marketing and advertising agencies, hired to convince you that this particular brand of sausage is the one that will bring joy and harmony to your family. They take a hefty slice. And finally, after this long and expensive tour, the food arrives at the retailer, the supermarket. The supermarket has prime real estate, thousands of employees, massive electricity bills, and, most importantly, shareholders who expect a very healthy return on their investment. This is the biggest bite of all. Each step in this process adds a layer of cost and a layer of profit for someone. The haulier, the processor, the packer, the distributor, and the retailer, they all take their cut. The farmer who took the initial risk, did the actual work of growing the thing, and poured months of their life into the product is just the first and smallest link in this long and hungry chain. They are a price taker, not a price maker. The price they are given is what's left after everyone else has figured out how to guarantee their own profit margin. It's a reverse auction where the farmer always loses. Let's make this brutally simple. Imagine a farmer, let's call him Gerald. Gerald spends months preparing his field, sowing his wheat seed, worrying about the rain, fighting off pests, and finally harvesting his crop. He sells his milling wheat for, let's say, 200 pounds a ton. Now, a ton of wheat can be used to make roughly 1,500 loaves of sliced white bread. At the supermarket, a standard loaf might cost you £1.40. So, the total retail value of the bread made from Gerald's ton of wheat is a staggering 2,100 pounds. Gerald, the man who started it all, received just 200 pounds of that. That's less than 10%. Where did the other 1,900 pounds go? Well, as we've seen, it was gobbled up along the way. The miller who turned the wheat into flour took a slice. The bakery that mixed the flour with water, yeast, and a load of other unpronounceable things, baked it, and sliced it, took a much bigger slice. The company that put it in a plastic bag with a fancy logo took a slice. The lorry driver who took it to the distribution center took a slice. The distribution center took a slice. And the supermarket, which gave it a nice brightly lit bit of shelf space, took the biggest slice of all. Gerald's 200 pounds is a distant, forgotten memory in this multi-stage feast. This isn't an exaggeration. It's the standard operating procedure for much of the food industry. You see the same story with potatoes, where the farmer might get 20 pence a kilo for the spuds that end up as a 4-pound bag of branded crisps. You see it with milk, where the farmer's price per liter is a pittance compared to what you pay for a fancy latte in a coffee shop. The farmer's share of the final retail price of food has been shrinking for decades. The value is not added on the farm, it is added in the factory and on the spreadsheet of a marketing executive in London. This is the core of the problem. The system is designed to reward processing, packaging, branding, and retailing far more than it rewards the actual, fundamental act of agriculture. The further away you get from the mud and the hard work, the more money you seem to make. The person taking the biggest financial risk and doing the most physical labor, our friend Gerald, gets the smallest reward. So when the price of that loaf goes up to £1.50, Gerald doesn't see an extra penny. That extra 10 pence is absorbed by the other players in the chain, who will blame their own rising costs for the increase, while the farmer gets nothing. Section 5. David and Goliath. The farmer versus the supermarket giant. A single farmer on their own has about as much bargaining power as a stranded motorist trying to haggle with the AA. They are completely at the mercy of the buyer, and the buyers these days are not a diverse group of local shopkeepers. They are a tiny handful of colossal supermarket chains and multinational food corporations. These giants wield an immense, almost terrifying amount of power. They can, and do, set the price. The farmer has two choices: take it or leave it. And since their crops are perishable and their bills are piling up, leaving it isn't really an option. Imagine you're a dairy farmer. You have a tank full of fresh milk that needs to be collected today. If it isn't, it will spoil, and your entire income for that period will be gone. You can't exactly stick it on eBay. So when the massive dairy processor, which supplies all the major supermarkets, tells you they're cutting the price they pay you by 2 pence a liter, what can you do? You can't ring up their competitor, because there might not be one that collects in your area. You are trapped. You have to accept the cut, even if it means you are now producing milk at a loss. This power imbalance is at the heart of the farmer's plight. Supermarkets can use their immense buying power to play farmers off against each other, and even to play countries off against each other, always seeking the lowest possible price to maximize their own profit margins. They might offer a contract that looks reasonable at first, but is filled with clauses that allow them to reject a whole consignment of vegetables for being the wrong shape or size, leaving the farmer with a lorry load of perfectly edible food they cannot sell. It is a relationship built not on partnership, but on dominance. Some farmers try to fight back by forming cooperatives, banding together to try and increase their collective bargaining power. This can help, giving them a bit more clout when negotiating with the big boys. But even a large cooperative can be small fry compared to a global retail behemoth with a turnover in the tens of billions. The fundamental structure of the market is a pyramid, with millions of farmers at the wide base and a tiny number of incredibly powerful buyers at the narrow peak. The money and the power naturally flows upwards, away from the farmers. Section 6. Gambling with Mother Nature, the uninsurable risks of farming. Of all the businesses you could choose to be in, farming is surely the one most exposed to risks you have absolutely no control over. Everyone else in the food supply chain operates in a relatively predictable world. The supermarket manager knows with a high degree of certainty how many customers will walk through the door. The factory owner knows how many packets of biscuits they can produce in an hour. Their risks are manageable, insurable, and largely financial. A farmer, on the other hand, is in a constant high-stakes gamble with the universe. Their business partner is Mother Nature, and she is a fickle, unpredictable, and often cruel partner. One year she might give you perfect growing conditions, and the next she might unleash a biblical flood that washes away your topsoil and your profits. Or she might decide not to rain at all for 3 months, leaving your crops to wither and die in the fields. A late frost can destroy a fruit blossom overnight, wiping out an entire year's income in a few hours. A new disease carried on the wind can sweep through your livestock like a medieval plague. These are not small, manageable risks. They are existential threats. And unlike the supermarket, the farmer bears the full financial brunt of these disasters. The factory owner has insurance for his machinery. The retailer has insurance for their buildings. But how do you insure against a lack of sunshine, or a hailstorm that shreds your rapeseed crop just before harvest? The risks are so enormous and so unpredictable that for many aspects of farming, proper insurance is either unavailable or prohibitively expensive. The farmer is the ultimate risk taker in the food chain, absorbing the shocks of weather, disease, and pests, so that everyone else can have a more stable, predictable business. This means that even in a good year, a farmer has to be thinking about the bad years. They can't just spend their profits, they have to try and build a buffer for the inevitable disaster that is lurking just around the corner. But when your margins are already squeezed to breaking point by the powerful buyers, building any kind of financial cushion is next to impossible. Farmers are forced to live on a knife edge, where one stroke of bad luck, one dry spell, one sick animal can push them over the precipice into bankruptcy. It's a stressful, anxiety-inducing way to live, and it's a world away from the air-conditioned certainty of a corporate boardroom. Section 7. The relentless climb of costs. When everything goes up but your income. here is another piece of the puzzle that people in cities often miss. While the price the farmer gets for their produce stagnates or even falls, the cost of producing that food is on a one-way trip to the moon. Farming is an incredibly input-heavy business. You can't just sit back and watch things grow. You need to buy fuel, fertilizer, animal feed, seeds, machinery, and veterinary medicines. And the prices of all these things have been rising at a terrifying rate, completely untethered from the prices farmers receive for their end product. Take fertilizer. It's made using natural gas, so when global energy prices go berserk, the price of a bag of fertilizer can double or even triple in a matter of months. A farmer has no choice but to pay it. Without fertilizer, their crop yields would collapse. The same goes for diesel, or red diesel as we call it in the countryside. Every tractor, combine harvester, and farm vehicle drinks the stuff. When the price of oil goes up, the farmer's fuel bill goes through the roof. But does the supermarket offer them a higher price for their wheat to cover this? Of course not. That's the farmer's problem. It's a phenomenon known as the cost-price squeeze, and it is crushing farmers everywhere. The price they are paid is set by the global market and the powerful buyers. But the costs they face are also set by global forces over which they have no control. Their income is capped, but their expenditure is not. Imagine if your boss told you that your salary was being frozen for the next 5 years. But your mortgage, your energy bills, and your food costs were all going to double. You would, quite rightly, think that was unsustainable. Well, welcome to the world of modern farming. This is why food prices on the shelf can be rising, yet farmers can be getting poorer. The supermarket might raise the price of a chicken by 50 pence, blaming rising supplier costs. What they don't tell you is that the cost of chicken feed has gone up by the equivalent of 60 pence per chicken. The farmer is actually worse off than they were before. The price rise you see as a consumer isn't going to the farmer. It is being used, and often not even fully, to cover the soaring costs of the inputs needed to produce the food in the first place, with the retailers and processors adding their own margin on top for good measure. Section 8. A system rigged from the start. So what is the answer? How do we fix this broken, upside-down system? Well, some farmers are trying to find their own solutions. They are diversifying, turning barns into wedding venues or opening farm shops to sell directly to the public, cutting out the middlemen. This allows them to capture more of the final price. Others are embracing technology, using GPS-guided tractors and drones to apply fertilizer with pinpoint accuracy, cutting waste and reducing costs. Cooperatives, as I mentioned, are another tool, giving farmers a collective voice to push back against the giants. But these are sticking plasters on a gaping wound. They are individual attempts to survive within a system that was not built to help them succeed. The fundamental architecture of our global food system is the problem. It is a system that prioritizes cheapness above all else, cheap food for the consumer, which means cheap raw materials from the farmer. It is a system that has allowed power to become concentrated in the hands of a few, who can dictate terms to the many. It is a system that has become so long and complex that it has completely disconnected the person who eats the food from the person who grows it. The truth is, this system was not designed with the farmer's welfare in mind. It was designed to provide a reliable, consistent, and inexpensive supply of food to an urbanized population, while generating maximum profit for the processors, manufacturers, and retailers. In that, it has been spectacularly successful. But the cost of that success has been borne by the farmers, and, increasingly, by the environment. We have created a model that extracts wealth from the land and from the people who work it, and funnels it towards corporate shareholders. It is efficient, yes, but it is also deeply inequitable. So the next time you're standing in the supermarket aisle, looking at the price of food and shaking your head, remember this story. Remember the long and hungry chain, the power imbalance, the immense risks, and the cost-price squeeze. Understand that the price on the sticker is not a reflection of the farmer's fortune. Higher food prices do not mean a better life for the people who feed us. Understanding this is the first, most crucial step. Because only when we, the people who eat the food, begin to understand and care about where it comes from, can we ever hope to build a system that is fair to the farmers who put it on our plates.